Welcome to the Truckers Podcast, FYI, Conversations Without Barriers. I'm your host, Doug from Ontario, and Chris
Good afternoon, everybody.
is joining me here in the studio, also from Ontario. And we are diving into a crisis that's unfolding right here in our backyard. Homelessness in London, Ontario. The numbers are staggering. The stories are heartbreaking. And the solutions, well, they are complicated. But we're going to unpack it all. What has changed, what hasn't, and what needs to happen next. Let's start with the facts. 2025 of March, 1,942 people are actively experiencing homelessness in London. That's nearly 2,000 individuals. And it's not just a number. People are sleeping in tents, on benches, in shelters. It's families, youth, seniors, and far too many Indigenous community members. 22.8% are chronically homeless, stuck in long-term cycles without stable housing. 90 people are living unsheltered, and that's likely undercounted. 59 encampments were recorded in March, down from 107 in late 2024, but many are transient and are hard to track. Rent for a one-bedroom starting at $1,765 a month, up nearly 50% from 2018. The wait list for rent geared to income housing, over 7,400 applications since 2020. More than 260 people have died while experiencing homelessness in London. That's just not tragic. It's unacceptable. This didn't happen overnight. Back in 2015, over 2,600 people accessed emergency shelters. By 2018, a point-in-time count found 406 people homeless in a single night, and 62% of them were chronically homeless. COVID-19 made things worse. Services were disrupted, housing insecurity skyrocketed, encampment began to multiply. By 2023, the city was reporting between 1,700 and 2,100 homeless individuals, with over 100 encampments and rising. Rent costs, fast forward today, and the crisis has deepened. The city has launched plans, but the scale of the problem keeps outpacing the response. Coordinated informed response, over 900 outreach responses in late 2024 alone. Heart Hub opening this year with 60 emergency spaces and 60 supportive housing units. By name list, real-time tracking of individuals to prioritize support. Community collaboration, agencies like the Unity Project and London Cares are working together more than ever. What's not working? Affordable housing supply. Rent is unaffordable and the wait list is overwhelming. Encampment growth still widespread despite efforts. Chronic homelessness, nearly 450 people are stuck in long-term homelessness. Health outcomes, the opioid crisis, and the lack of mental health supports are devastating lives. Indigenous representation. Nearly 20% of the homeless population identifies as Indigenous, and that's likely undercounted. So, yes, there are bright spots, but they're not scaling fast enough to meet the need. The question isn't just what's being done, it's whether it's working for the people who need it the most. What needs to change? We need more than a Band-Aid. We need systemic change. That means massive investment in affordable housing, wraparound mental health and addiction services, Indigenous-led solutions with real funding, provincial and federal support that matches the scale of the crisis. It's a policy choice, and London deserves better. Now, Chris, you know somebody that is working with the homeless, and they have a drive going on today. Let's talk about that.
Church down there, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with it, at Queens and Adelaide, is doing a fresh foods drive for the need. So they'll have fruits, vegetables, dry goods, potatoes, canned goods. It goes until around 5 o'clock p.m. tonight. They will keep the doors open a bit longer depending on need and numbers and whether the stuff is still available. But the church there, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it. It's over there at like I said at Adelaide and Queens Ave on the corner in the heart of downtown. So if anybody you know needs this kind of stuff or in need, let them know. Find them a way to get there, and hopefully that can help a bit.
Yeah, and it's a what is the name of the organizations that's running that?
You had said it
That is
on
London Cares.
London Cares,
That is
yes.
London Cares, and they're the ones that who are
And they have a
working.
bunch of hubs all over London. She works out of the one on Adelaide and Quebec, Queens. There are other hubs within the on downtown area. Open Doors, which is by the Western Fair, across the Western Fair there on Dundas Street, and the food bank is also leaving tables out front today for the London Cares project.
It's a good organization. Do they do anything like for when the fall's coming up, winter? Are they looking for specific items as the temperatures in the season starts to change?
They do. Yep, they have the winter coats, hats, mitts as donations. Obviously, they're doing that right now, getting the stuff accumulated at the locations. But yes, every year during the colder months, blankets, warm clothes, coats, mitts, hats, whatever you would need to stay relatively warm and comfortable during those months when you're out in the elements.
Yeah, that's really good. What about the Unity Project is a homeless shelter, and they are working collaboratively with London Cares. Is there anything what those two are doing together as maybe such as advocating on behalf of people who are unhoused?
That's that's a good question. Yeah, my friend, that's a majority of her job during the day. So people will be coming in, they're looking for safe environments. They don't have that at that church. It is still a church. So they have their Sunday service, they have their Thursday night. It is a church still, but they have an office in there where you can go in during the week at between 8 and 5 and look for assistance on finding a dry place to sleep, somewhere, finding beds at the other facilities, the women's shelters, the men's shelters. So they work in conglomerate with them to see the numbers that they need for each night. More in the winter months because obviously the need is more. People are more outside during the warmer months. They're okay, but in the winter, yeah. So they work with all the shelters and facilities. That's her major job. Is she facilitates? What how do you say that word? To find the beds for the people in need, and you get on a list. You literally have to go in and sign in the morning to have a bed. So the same people pretty much have the same beds each night because they know the process.
Right. So they don't offer any beds at that facility for overnights.
There is no beds at that church. No, it's not a shelter. It is a
A drop-in.
assistance facility.
So the drop-in center,
Correct.
to help them to access other services throughout the city.
Correct.
Yeah, see, that's a good organization. London Cares, people working tirelessly. Now, so other people with London Cares are they have do they have individuals that go out to the encampments to bring some food, water, whatever other necessities that they require
when they're permitted,
when they're permitted to do it.
because the encampments are considered trespassing. So they have tried, Amanda, my friend, and the one at Open Doors, and they've been turned away a few times because they don't. They're saying they're encouraging the encampments. So if you're coming out to where they are encamping privately, private properties, trespassing, but majority of the time it's okay. Yes, they do go out and try to care packages and things like that to make sure that they're okay, fed, warm, enough water. But to need permission, they need permission.
Right now, do they? What about London Cares too? Are they working the arcade mission services? Is London Cares working with them at all? Because I know that they have so many beds for the night, and she actually have two different locations. So is she in touch also with that
I'm not sure
agency?
with arcade. I know about the shelters and open doors
Like
and the
men's
food bank.
mission,
I'm not sure. I don't know what
Unity Project.
arcade's policies are. So
Yeah. So she probably has probably reached out to the arcade too because the arcade mission services they also provide meals in the evening and um, individual groups around the city also bring in food uh, so people can have a reasonable dinner. Sometimes they get a special treat on a Friday night. It could be pizza that these special interest groups are involved for that. But the crisis, the homeless crisis, it's not just here in Ontario, it's countrywide, from coast to coast, every province, every single city and towns. Now, London, we're making baby steps right now. And so for people who have a mental illness addiction, London is building 600 supportive wraparound service units for people who have mental illness and addiction over 3 years. That's falling way short of what's needed. But it's only a start. Now, when we look at other major cities and the most populated city, and I'm not talking about the greater Toronto area, I'm just talking about the city of Toronto. They have the highest homeless rate in that city, or most people homeless in that city than anywhere in the country. And it's over 15,000. The province of Ontario, the largest province, the most populated province in Canada, the homeless population is 80,000. These numbers are pretty close to what it is because these are the people they can count. This is the point in time. Count. These are the people who are accessing the services. Because we can't count the hidden homeless. And that's people who are couch surfing, living with friends or relative, sleeping in their cars. Yes, there are homeless people who are working, making just above minimum wage, but they can't afford the rent. So they're sleeping at Walmarts, they're sleeping at the truck stops, accessing the showers, getting their breakfast there, whatever they have to do, and then going to work and then only ending up back at the same place. So it's just not the people that you see on the streets who are homeless. Low wage earners, low income families, and if the low income families are in a place they are renting, they're one paycheck away from being on the streets. That could be a loss of job, that could be a health issue, could be an injury, and so forth. Because when you lose your job, you only get 60% of your earnings from employment insurance. And that is not going to be enough or nearly enough to cover your rent or any other bills that you have to pay. They have a 10-year plan, the government, a 10-year plan to solve homelessness. And we're already behind the 8 ball. Here in the city of London and even in Toronto, we barely have the shovels in the ground for more affordable housing. And that's for rent, geared to income. That is, your rent shouldn't be more than 30% of your gross income. If you're lucky enough and you're making $70,000 a year, you can't afford more than $1,750 a month. That's for your shelter. That's not including your car payments. That's not including your gas. That's not including your maintenance.
And that's a one bedroom.
And that's one bedroom, $1,750 for a one bedroom. That's starting. That's what minimum now. You would think, Chris.
Minimum in a decent, safe area, yeah, 1750. If you want to live on Upper King, what's that, King, over in the East End? I looked it up, and it starts at one bedroom, just under 1,000, and you're not in the safest environment. So 1750 if you want to be secure.
Yeah, in a relatively nice neighborhood. So and that's an income of 17,000 or 70,000 a year. So the government, with their building faster fund, as they call it, I guess, it gave London 11.9 million for hitting 95% of its housing target. The Housing Accelerator Fund added 7.3 million to fast track 184 more units. We have 7,200 applications for housing.
7,200, you're saying right now for affordable housing like geared income?
Yeah, 7,200 applications.
Right? That sounds about right. And climbing.
Yeah, and we're looking at what, about a 7-year to 8-year wait list?
Right now it's sitting at 7 years.
7-year wait list for someone to get into affordable
non-emergency,
housing.
Non-needing, 7 years.
So for non-emergency, non-needing, just you need a place to live with your children, right? So the city had launched the grant programs to encourage office conversions, transit corridor housing, and additional residential units. So these office conversions, I don't believe that they are going to be affordable for most or all of low-income families.
It's not going to be affordable for 60%, 65% of our population.
Yeah, because of the cost.
The
just
average person
conversion.
in London, Ontario, right now, with a good job, makes about $60,000 a year.
That's average for
Average in London, Ontario, $60,000 a year.
$60,000.
So below what you said, 70 gets you at $1,750 a month. So that means they can only afford $1,200,
Yeah,
$1,250.
12.
Where are you going to find a decent, safe environment home? One bedroom, because that's going to be a one bedroom, people, for $1,250 in London. I just told you, unsafe over on King Street there, well, King over Adelaide East, is just under $1,000.
Mm-hmm. Now the Dollars to Doors program is offering up to $45,000 per affordable unit, capped at 80% of the CMHC rent for 25 years. 25 years isn't too bad, but I think they should go maybe 30 years. And then that rent, is always going to be that rent all the time, right? And people can hopefully, save some money and move their lives forward, then other people can rent
Well,
those
here's what they
places.
need to do. You're talking about it's going to be a certain amount for rent for an individual to rent a unit. The interest, or not the interest, the increase on rent should be frozen. If this is what the people make and hasn't changed 5, 6, 7 years down the road, the rent shouldn't change. The increase of the 2% or whatever it is that and I know it's law and they're allowed to do it, but that puts people behind the eight ball because now you're still making the same amount of money, you're still doing the same job, but now your rent's going up by the 2% that they're allowed to increase your rent. That takes away from your hydro, that takes away from your food, that takes from clothes for you and your children, because those prices are going up too.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think it's like around like 2.5%. I think the allowable increase in. So this one here. So this Dollars to Doors program offering up to 80% over 25 years. So say that rent was, say, just an example, say it was $600 a month, right? So that should stay $600 a month for 25 years, right? And not
It
that
should stay at
increase,
600 for the 25 years.
right?
Base it on the person's income.
Yeah, based on the pace. Yeah,
If the
for whatever
person's
they're.
income doesn't change, don't keep increasing their living costs.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's greedy.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They're not paying that much to have you in that unit.
No.
So I get that they're allowed a regular rental unit. People that have a decent income can afford, sure.
Yeah.
But in affordable housing, it needs to be frozen.
Yeah, it needs to be frozen
to your income.
Yes.
If you make this much, this is how much your rent will be until your income changes. And they send out forms because I've been in housing for about 10 years. They send out every year. You got to declare your income, your household income, all income coming into your house, and who's in your house.
Right.
And we do that every year, and we still pay the you saying 2.7? That's about right. 2.7% every year. It goes up because in November our rent is going to go up just over $1,000, and that's a very good price for where we are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it doesn't need to happen in housing.
No, you're right. Development costs, though, too. The development costs are high. Land, labor, materials, and municipal fees. Private developers often avoid affordable builds due to lower the ROI. The zoning restrictions and red tape slow down the density projects. Interest rates and inflations are squeezing both builders and the buyers. Right. So affordability isn't just about rent. It's about the entire system. And right now that system is stacked against the low and middle income Londoners because, the middle, if we went back, uh, 30 years, you're middle class, or 35, 40 years, you're a middle class, you could afford to buy a home.
You could buy a home
You
30,
could buy a
40
home.
years ago.
Yeah, you could be in middle class. That was middle class, right? Well, now jump ahead 35, 40 years. Middle class, they can't afford to buy a house.
Middle class is barely keeping their head above water.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Because of not the cost of living too, right? I mean, food prices, clothing prices, everything's going up. You know, obviously these tariffs aren't helping, right? So I've talked about that before. Tariff is a tax, right? We put tariffs on the United States goods. The importers, Canadian importers, put tariffs on the United States goods. It's the consumer who pays that tax, right? Not the country. Country doesn't pay the tariff. It's the people that pays the tariff, right? Donald Trump puts tariffs on Canada, so the importers, the American businesses buying from Canada, they got to pay that tariff. They pass that cost on to you. That's how a tax works, right? Canada doesn't pay the tax. So the cost of living, it is just staggering to go to and go to the grocery store for the people. Just imagine if you have children, or you need diapers, you need formula, all these extra things, besides to put food on the table. People shouldn't have to decide whether to keep the lights on or put food on the table.
And that's what I was going to say. The essentials are being taxed the highest. So the diapers, the essential foods you need to live, that's the highest taxes that are being hit. And they know that. They're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I mean,
Eggs, stuff that you need, your water, your milk, or to go out and buy a thing of eggs. Have you looked?
yeah, it's expensive for that. I mean, so for life basic needs, or life needs, life necessity, obviously food, right? And that shouldn't break the bank, right?
Like
You
you said,
should
if you
be.
have to choose between your lights on and being fed, there's a problem.
Yeah, I read a story a while back too, that single moms, or even like still a mom and dad, in the household, they're skipping meals so their kids can eat.
I went many days. I have three daughters. I went many days not eating properly to make sure that my children were fed. And that's unnecessary.
Yeah, and that sort of thing shouldn't be happening. Um, so what more? I mean, obviously we need the money, right? The federal government with their uh, funding to the cities. One thing I don't like about what the government is doing. Um, so when the government is giving the provinces, or the province, and sending it down to the cities and stuff like that, there's strings attached to that. You have to build fourplexes, so 4 stories, 3 stories, in within the city and neighborhoods. And if the city turns around and says no, they cut back the funding,
Or retract it completely.
or retract it completely, right? So when the federal government gives handing out this money, you know, we would think that we have responsibility at the municipal level, and people at the municipal level, that they are going to use this money um, for the right things, right? Because contractors, they're not building for the less fortunate. They're building for people who are wealthy.
Now I'm trying to think.
Condos.
Sorry, go ahead. I think a while back, I think it was about 3 years ago, there was a plan at Gore Road Golf Course. They were going to build portable housing. The owner of that property decided that wasn't going to happen and burned everything down. The building that was used as the clubhouse was going to be like a center for get your clothing, get some food, um, your toiletries, and they were going to have portable housing on that entire golf course. The owner of that property, because he went bankrupt, decided, I'm not going to let that happen. He burned down the clubhouse, which would have cost the city millions to rebuild and damage. He's in jail, but this is what happens. It was going to happen. They were going to have portable housing on Gore Road up the hill there at the Gore Road, whatever it is, golf course. It was going to house, let's say, 100, 150 people a night. And they would have had the facility of the clubhouse for washrooms, showers, and he burned it down.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that story. I think the city is suing him for just over $1 million um, for the damages and stuff like that. But see, back we had a pilot project just down the street from where I live. They had the refitted trailers, and that's probably what was going to go in there for over the winter months and sort of that kind of thing. Yeah, so it went well. You know, it was for the winter months. In the spring, they cleared them out. I think they moved them out Wellington, um, behind the Victoria or the where the Westminster Ponds and stuff like that is. Like I think they
Oh,
moved them
okay.
out behind there.
So in my neighborhood, up
Um,
Southdale, Adelaide, Wellington,
yeah, so I
Westminster
think
Ponds goes all the way from Adelaide, all the way to Southdale Road, and all the way from Commissioners to Wellington. So it's a big, big area. So I did not see that.
yeah,
I
I think
did.
it's like where the welcome center
Okay.
is on
I will
Wellington. I
have
think it's in
to.
behind there. I think they put them there for the
There are
winter.
buildings behind right now. If you go in by the Welcome Center and the fire station, there's a road I didn't even know existed. You go down, and it looks like a summer camp area. They got cottage kind of stuff. Um, is that maybe what they're?
That's set up for the homeless veterans.
Okay.
That's what that
I
is.
did not know that was there. I went to pick up a group one day, and they were going for a tour somewhere, and they looked like little semi-detached cottages that you would go when you go to summer camp.
Yep, yep. That's for the homeless veterans. They had done that too, but I would last winter too, which was really discerning because London didn't have a winter response program put in place for people who are unable to get into shelters because the shelters are just full to capacity. And not having a winter response in place, I just thought that was just really inhumane. And people remained out in the cold. They remained in these in tent encampments for the winter. I haven't even heard if the city's even talking about a winter response because I mean, if they come back to the table and say, "Oh, we don't have a winter response again this year," that's not going to sit well um, with these agencies, and for anybody of that matter, and myself, in Londoners, that you can't get a winter plan response together and get these people into whatever whatever is available to get them out of the cold. So we're gonna have to wait to see. We're gonna have to wait to see what happens there. Um, But
I sent a message to my friend Amanda because she's got her hands in all kinds of stuff that goes on with the to find out if she's heard anything about a winter response program this year. So I'll wait to.
yeah, see what
She
comes
has
up.
her hands all over because the other facility people can go to that I was just thinking was um, right behind there at Wellington on the underpass. I just had it. I'm sorry. I will think of it in a minute.
So what
It's
is
at
it?
the tall building there by the underpass. It's a shelter, and they offer programs every day.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, because I know the Arcade Mission has another one on William Street or something like that. She's got so many beds at the arcade, and then she has so many beds at another location. I think it's on William. I think it is because she got more funding this year in order to keep operating that way.
And Open Doors has cots in their gym every night,
Open doors. Okay.
right across from the Western Fair. They are the same as the church at Adelaide and Queens, but Queens and Adelaide don't. Open Doors has, I think, maybe 20, 25 beds available at night for the gym. And again, first come, first serve, right?
Yeah, you have to show up at a certain time and get your name down, and then come back to be there, ready, available to accept that bed, right?
And only be 25 because of uh, control.
Yeah,
They're all volunteers there. No one is paid on those nights, so they don't want trouble. You get too many people with not enough supervision, unfortunately, so they capped it at 25 beds, I believe, in that open door church.
in that open door church. I didn't. I didn't even know about that one. I'm really more familiar with what Arcade has been doing. Of course, the Unity Project, um, where I volunteered back in 2016. And then, of course, the Men's Mission and Mission Services, and the Women's Shelter, the Roth Home. Familiar with those, but so many things have been changing, and even with the Arcade Mission Services, it was just a place to come for snacks at lunchtime and for dinner. It wasn't turned into any sort of shelter until up to the last couple of years, where of course the need has been much greater when we have roughly around 2,000 homeless people here in the city. So being a smaller city, obviously, what is our population latest now?
We're showing at 453.
453,000 populated in the city. Um, so yeah, just familiar with the names that I know of services, like the shelters. But anything else like what London Care is doing and what other agencies are doing. Of course, the food banks, they are seeing a significant increase in people accessing those services.
Some of that has to do with people being brought into the city, the immigrants, and they're in need, of course. So everybody has to have food.
Right.
So some of that increase has to do with a little bit, probably, with the immigration coming into London, Toronto, and so I think that would probably be part of the reason why
Yeah, kind of boosted up too, right?
they're accessing it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and like any other city too across the country, um, you know, every city town deserves better and more funding. So she's saying, I'm not 100% sure. We usually don't know until November. Well, we can get snow in November.
In October, it's cold.
Yeah,
November,
October.
it's very cold.
Yeah, by the time the end of
So
October,
they're
it
not
really starts
letting
to
the
turn.
facility leads know until what my friend is saying now, until November,
Whether they're
whether
gonna.
there's going to be a winter response. Unacceptable.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. I mean, what are they doing all summer long?
You
You
should
know.
know whether you're doing it or you're not doing it all year long. The funding should already be in place. You know we have cold winters. We're in Canada.
Well, especially from last year, they should have been working on one then already for this year because they didn't have a plan in place last winter, and that was a better time to even to start putting a plan together for this winter. And I guess we're not going to know until November whether they're going to have a winter response plan in place to get people out of these tent encampments, off the streets, and into a warm facility for the winter months.
They are literally damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. They're
Yeah,
being told they're being trespassed off of properties
right.
with making the best they can with what they have to work with,
Yeah.
but they're not given any other options or any other services to change that. So you're basically kicking them from one spot to another. You're not fixing the problem. You're not solving the problem. They're simply moving on to the next location.
This is
So
exactly
put the
what.
money into what will get them out of your hair. If they're bothering you, if it's a nuisance and you're saying they're trespassing, or the neighborhood doesn't want them there, which I do understand. It's an eyesore. These are homes that people have bought. These are homes that people are renting. Do something about it then. Put the funding in place so that you're not out there kicking them from place to place, because at the end of the day, that is all you're doing.
You're exactly right. Just moving from one place to the other, into another neighborhood and stuff, and not in my backyard, NIMBY. That always comes up to what's taken place a lot too. Um, so thank you everybody for joining me today. Um, Thanks for listening. If this episode moved you, share it, talk about it, push for change, because behind every stat is a story. People deserve dignity, safety, and a place to call home. This is the Truckers Podcast, FYI Conversations Without Barriers. I'm your host, Doug, and my guest today was Chris.
I remember that place. Salvation Army. Salvation Army offers beds. You can have 2 meals a day. You pick. You want breakfast or you want dinner, or you want breakfast and you want lunch. They have full facility. You are welcome on their numbers. Showering, your toiletries, and you're allowed to take them out with you. So Salvation Army is the other one. So in need, open doors. The open doors at Adelaide and Queens, and Salvation Army. Those are the 3 places to inquire first, because they have the most available for your needs.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And take care and enjoy the rest of your day. And I will be, I don't even know what today is anymore. Is today Tuesday? Yeah, I guess it's Tuesday. Yep. I will be putting up another show Thursday afternoon. And thanks for joining me. Take care. Oh, it's a